Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to be talking about Pre-BIS for Destruction Warlock in TBC. Some things of note before I get into the video. One thing of note, I would not worry about getting full mega Pre-BIS before stepping into Kara Gruul Mag, right? For a few reasons. The main reason is that Karazhan is just a 10-man. Being just a 10-man, you're not going to have a whole lot of loot competition. So as far as like Phase 1 BIS is concerned, you should be able to get your Kara gear pretty easy. Like you're probably only be rolling against like one or two other people. So for that reason, Kara gear shouldn't be too hard to attain at all. And then Gruul Mag, that's a 25-man, but there's really not a whole lot from Gruul Mag that is like your Phase 1 BIS, actually. So, Pre-BIS, though it's exciting and fun to get full Pre-BIS, I would not stress too much about it. But what I have on the screen right now is if you just Google like classic TBC Warlock, Destruction Warlock Pre-BIS, you're going to come up with a list that's very similar or exactly like this. This is kind of what's been accepted as like the Pre-BIS setup. And I put in all the gear and I simmed it. I simmed it for a 2-minute fight. The default is 3 minutes, but I changed it to 2 because we kill bosses so fast in Classic WoW nowadays. I made sure I gave myself the appropriate raid buffs, the raid debuffs that I expect to have, and whatnot. And I simmed it, and it comes out to 2,054 damage for Pre-BIS for a 2-minute fight. If you don't care to listen to me talk in depth about every single item, this is the slide for you. This one right here. It's just screenshot this and go to town. This is the Pre-BIS setup that is widely accepted. However, if you care to hear me nerd out for quite a while about gear, you came to the right place, because that's what I'm about to do. But before I get into every single item, I want to talk about a few things. So the first thing I want to talk about is hit rating. Getting hit cap is your most important priority when gearing. At level 70, when fighting a level 73 mob, which is a raid boss, you have an 83% chance to hit by default. Therefore, you have a 17% chance to miss. 1% is unavoidable, so the hit cap for raid bosses for a Warlock is 16%. Warlocks do not have any hit from talents, for destruction spells that is, unlike many other casters. So you really want to get this 16%. But there are a couple things that can help you out, being shamans. Elemental shamans in particular, have a Totem of Wrath. This is a totem that they drop for their group, and it gives you 3% crit and 3% hit. So if you have an Ellie Sham in your group, you need 3% less hit than if you didn't. And if you're in a proper raid group, you're probably going to have an Ellie Sham in your group. So you get 3% from that. And then if you are Alliance, if you have a Draenei in your group, it's probably going to be a Draenei Ellie Sham. There's Heroic Presence. This is the Draenei passive. Increases the chance to hit for you and all your party members within 30 yards by 1%. So Alliance Warlocks with an Ellie Sham are going to need 12% hit from gear, whereas Horde Warlocks with an Ellie Sham will need 13% hit from gear. 12.62 hit rating is 1% spell hit at level 70. And for the values, you need 202 hit rating to get 16%, 164 to get 13, and if you're Alliance, 152 for 12% hit. Moving forward. So this is information I got from Icy Veins. It's a pretty good website as far as accurate information is concerned. And basically what this stuff is, down here, it's the stat priority. and they get this stat priority based on spell power equivalency. So, of course, one spell power is worth one spell power, but everything else, crit, hit, haste, spirit, stamina, some gigabrains, not myself, were able to figure out the value of every single stat and equate it to spell power. So the reason spell hit is number one is because until you're at cap, hit rating is worth almost 2 spell power. And then the next strongest is haste at 1.35. And then we have spell power at, of course, 1. Then crit at 0.882. And then everything else is not nearly as impactful. Intellect at 0.261, and then stam and spirit almost useless as far as DPS is concerned. But this chart is important because throughout this video, every single item that I talk about, I do the spell power equivalency of that item. I calculated that using this chart. So what I did is I took the intellect and I multiplied it by 0.261. I took the crit, multiplied it by 0.882. Took the hit, multiplied it by 1.956. There's no haste in the game yet, of note. And of course the spell power is worth 1. And I added all that up for every piece, and I came up with a spell power equivalency. So I wanted to note this is where I'm getting those numbers, is from this chart from Icy Veins. I'm moving forward. So of course there's gems in TBC, and there's 3 primary gems you're going to be using, and that is the hit gem, the spell damage gem, and then the hit and spell damage gem. These are your main gems that you're looking at. Basically, you gem for hit until you get hit cap, and then you use the rest of your gems for spell damage. And then I wanted to point out, if you're using a helm with a meta socket, the best meta gem is Chaotic Skyfire Diamond, giving you 12 crit rating and 3% increased critical damage. Quite powerful. But you do need 2 blue gems to activate it. So more than likely you're going to be using Glowing Night's Eye for the spell damage and stamina. Just 2 of them. And then you'll be able to activate your meta gem. Okay. So regarding my spell power equivalency calculations, there's a few potential flaws. For one, for simplicity's sake, I'm counting every gem as worth 9 spell power. Just to keep it simple, every gem that's not a meta gem, I just say it's worth 9 points. However, that is not how you're going to actually gem, most likely. And something I want to note. Items with high hit rating will appear more powerful than they may be, since hit rating is worth so much spell power equivalency points. It's worth like almost 2, right? But you can't just simply choose the item with the highest spell power equivalency for every slot and think that's the way to go, because if you do that, you'll be way over hit cap. Because a lot of items that are considered like your BIS may not be the highest spell power equivalency points, just because some other options that have a lot of hit rating will, according to spell power equivalency, appear to be stronger than they necessarily may be. But at the end, I'm going to go over a couple setups with actual proper gemming and whatnot, and sim it, and kind of go over what BIS list you may be looking at. All right, moving forward, let's get into the items. So, starting with the helm. This is actually kind of the worst thing to start with. I'm just going top bottom, like helm, neck, shoulders, that way. But helm is a little bit complicated because of the existence of meta sockets. So on these 3 helms that have meta sockets, I did not go through the effort of trying to do a spell power equivalency for the meta socket itself. But I want to note that the meta socket is quite powerful. But there's a couple helms that don't have meta sockets as well in this slideshow. But for these 3, these have meta sockets. Most BIS lists are going to say Mana Etched Crown is your BIS. And that may be confusing because just look at it. It kind of sucks. 34 spell damage, 15 spell pen, 1 socket, and a meta. Like, that's worse than these two, certainly. So why would it be in BIS lists? Well, that is because of the 2 set. The 2 set of Mana Etched gives you that 35 spell hit rating, which is worth a lot. That 35 spell hit rating is an equivalency of 68 spell power. So it's quite a powerful 2 set. But the helm itself, not including the meta socket, is only worth 48 spell power equivalency. So kind of a weak piece, but it's in a lot of BIS lists, so I wanted to point that out. Far more powerful, but no set bonus things going on, is your goggles from engineering. Now you do have to be engineering to wear these, but they're quite powerful at 104 spell power equivalency. I mean, it has the meta socket, has a socket, a regular socket, has 29 crit rating, and it has 64 spell damage. A very powerful helm, but you do have to be engineering. Another good option with the meta socket, Mana Binder's Cowl. This is from Badges, easy to attain. You just gotta do some heroics, and it comes out at 63 spell power equivalency, 34 spell damage, 15 crit. Get the socket, get the meta socket. Not a bad option at all. Before I keep moving forward, I want to point out every single slot I show like 4 to 5 options, but I do make sure to include the classic WoW level 60 BIS option as well to kind of point out how good like Nax AQ40 gear is compared to TBC gear. Because for some slots, it's the Nax gear is better or like the same, and for other slots, it's fair amount worse. I'll be moving forward. The last 2 helms I want to talk about is Spellstrike Hood and Plague Heart Circlet. Spellstrike Hood is very powerful. 128 spell power equivalency on this. It has good hit rating, good crit rating, a lot of spell power, and 3 sockets. And it has a very powerful 2 set. Hard to do the spell power equivalency of the 2 set, but I mean, of course, it's 92 spell power equivalency when it's active, but kind of hard to calculate. But I mean, just looking at the stats on Spellstrike Hood, 128 spell power equivalent, it's way better than all these. I mean, it just is. But no meta socket is a downside for sure. And then finally, your Nax option is your tier 3 helm at 79 spell power equivalency. No sockets on this, of course, because it's a classic item. But not bad by any means. I mean, 80 spell power is comparable, at least, to the rest of these. But definitely not as powerful. Like, not even close to as powerful as Spellstrike Hood. So you're definitely looking to upgrade your helm, ideally. Moving forward, we have the necks, the neck options. Most BIS lists are going to say Brooch of Heightened Potential from Shadow Labs. It's a pretty powerful piece, gives you hit rating, crit rating, and spell damage at 55 spell power equivalency. But another very good option is Eye of the Night. This is a jewel crafting neck. Gives you good hit rating, good crit, some spell pen. No base spell damage on this, but the on use gives you and your party 34 spell damage for 30 minutes. But it's on an hour cooldown. So in perfect scenarios, you have a 50% uptime on this. So you do want to have another neck in your back pocket. But Eye of the Night is very powerful. When the buff is active, it's at 88 spell power equivalency. And it benefits your party. So I would definitely look to get this. And you may notice this random sun icon. I use this to identify items that are not only pre-BIS, but arguably also Phase 1 BIS. So a few slots have an item that is not only pre-BIS, but phase 1 BIS as well, like through Kara Grulmag. And Eye of the Night is one of those items. Very good. And then finally, the classic option, Amulet of Veklanash. Not too bad. 40 spell power equivalency on this. About 15 spell power worse than Brooch of Heightened Potential. Definitely worse. But not bad at all. But being that this is from Shadow Labs, people run Shadow Labs all the time just for the rep. You should be able to get this Brooch fairly easily. So I'd look to pick this up, along with crafting your Eye of the Night. Moving forward to shoulders. I think I said at the beginning of the video. If not, I'm going to say it now. I'm assuming you're playing Shadow Warlock. If you're playing Fire Warlock, a few different slots change. Particularly the Frozen Shadow Eve stuff, because it's doing nothing for you. But assuming you're playing Shadow Warlock, that's what I assume doing this video. Frozen Shadow Eve shoulders. From tailoring, almost 72 spell power equivalency on this. Quite powerful. Another decent option is your Mana Etch Spalders. This is from Shadow Labs. Should be pretty easy to get. A fair amount weaker than Frozen Shadow Eve, but if you're using it to get your 2 set of Mana Etched, that 2 set's very powerful at 68 spell power equivalency. Another decent option. Another one, Spalders of Oblivion are quite nice. 2 sockets, 29 spell damage, 51 spell power equivalency on this. And it's from Heroic Slave Pens. And if you know anything about pre-BIS gearing for Warlock and TBC, there is a Trinket in Heroic Slave Pens that you certainly want. So you are probably going to be doing a lot of Heroic Slave Pens. So you're probably going to get a bunch of these shoulders in the meanwhile. But yeah, pretty good shoulders. Spalders of Oblivion. And then finally, your Nax option, or your Classic Growl option, is from Nax. Tier 3 shoulders. Very good. 36 damage, 8 hit rating, 54 spell power equivalency. It's quite powerful. I don't think you look silly going into Karazhan with tier 3 shoulders on at all. They're not like really any worse than Spalders of Oblivion or Mana Etch Spalders. They're a fair amount worse than Frozen Shadow Eve, but yeah, tier 3 shoulders are pretty good too. Moving forward to the back. Most BIS lists are going to say Sethic Oracle Cloak. 12 hit rating, 22 damage, good stamina int. Pretty good from Sethic Halls. However, I think a lot of BIS lists are a little bit misinformed because Croak of the Necropolis from Nax appears to just be better. I mean, it has 4 more spell damage. It has 14 crit rating that is non-existent on Sethic Oracle Cloak at the loss of 8 hit rating and a little bit of stamina int. According to spell power equivalency, Cloak of the Necropolis is actually your BIS, your pre-BIS. But another decent option from Badges of Justice is Shawl of Shifting Probabilities. Has a good spell damage and crit rating on this. Pretty good cloak as well. Moving forward. Oh, actually, no, there's... I want to talk about 2 more cloaks. Just of Shadowwrath cloaks. The green ones can roll up to 42. And Illidari Cloak of Shadowwrath can roll up to 47. So these are pretty good as well if you want to snipe one off the auction house. Pretty good option. Now moving forward to the chest. Frozen Shadow Weave robe. We have 72 damage, 2 sockets, spell power equivalency of 95. Pretty good option. Robe of the Crimson Order. This is a BOE that you get from the auction house, or if you're lucky. I expect it to be kind of expensive, but not outrageous. I think a lot of people are aware that this is like a common pre-BIS option for a lot of casters, so I think it's going to be a little pricey. But I doubt it's more expensive than all the mats to make Frozen Shadow Weave robe. or it's at least going to be comparable, I imagine. But this has a lot of hit rating, which is nice. 30 hit rating and 50 spell damage. Very good option. Robe of the Crimson Order. Similar to that, if you want to save the gold, Akunai, however you say that, this robe. It's from a quest, like a dungeon quest, I believe. And it gives you, it's basically the same thing as Robe of the Crimson Order, but it has 7 less hit rating and 22 less damage, but you get 3 sockets. So if you put hit rating and damage sockets in like you would do, it comes out to pretty much like the same as Robe of the Crimson Order, honestly. So I would definitely be satisfied with this this quest chest. And then finally, your classic option from Nax, tier 3 chest. Not bad by any means. Some hit rating, good spell damage, some crit rating, but it's a bit worse than the TBC options. About 20 spell power worse than like these two, and like 10 spell power worse than Frozen Shadow Weave. Really, any of these chests will suffice for Pre-BIS, I would say. Moving forward to the bracers. BIS alert, we have the sun. This is what you will find on Phase 1 BIS lists as well as Pre-BIS, like including Kara Grumag. A lot of BIS lists will say Bracers of Havoc. 30 damage, you get a socket, 12 int, pretty powerful. 42 spell power equivalency. But I think it's from tailoring, and it's BOE, so you could just buy it off the auction if you don't feel like crafting it. A little bit pricey to make, if I remember correctly, but not outrageous, not like 1,000 gold or anything. But I think a slept-on option is General's Silk Cuffs. This is from PvP, but not like Arena. You don't have to do Arena. You don't have to be good at PvP. I think it's just like Warsong Gulch Marks and in Honor. But if you look at it compared to Braces of Havoc, it has Stamina, which is kind of nice. It has 5 more int. It has the same yellow socket. 10 less spell damage, but it gives you 12 crit rating. So according to the spell power equivalency, it's actually a little bit better than Braces of Havoc. So personally, whether you feel like doing some battlegrounds or spending a little bit of gold, whatever sounds less annoying to you, do that and get one of these. Another good option is Crimson Bracers of Gloom from Heroic Ramparts. But you won't really find these on BIS lists, although the spell power equivalency makes it appear that it's stronger than these two. But that's because it has a lot of hit rating. Generally, these bracers are not quite as versatile and useful as these two. But if you use the hit rating, these are very good bracers as well. Last two I want to talk about is just Up Shadow Wrath bracers. Not a bad choice. They can roll up to 45. Not bad. And your classic option is Rock Fury bracers, or like Bracers of Arcane Accuracy from BWL. The hit bracers. These are still quite powerful. 27 damage, 8 hit rating. That puts you at a spell power equivalency of 42.65. Comparable to all these other bracers. So, yeah, you won't look silly at all in Kara Gromag with Rock Fury bracers by any means. Moving forward to the gloves. BIS lists, Pre-BIS lists, if you Google it, will say Mana Etched gloves. 2 sockets, pretty good crit rating, and some spell damage. The spell power equivalency, if you'll notice, is only 56 when compared to like these are 67 and 70. But it's really for that 2 set. If you're wearing another piece of Mana Etched, whether that's the helm or the shoulders or whatever, getting that 2 set is very nice. That 2 set is worth 68 spell power equivalency. Gloves of Pandemonium. These are a good option as well. 10 hit, 22 crit, 25 damage, 15 int. and they're only level 62. They're just a world drop. I don't expect them to be cheap by any means, because I think people can look at this and realize they're quite powerful. But I don't think they're going to be insane either, because they're just like a pre-BIS option. But if you can snipe these off the auction house for cheap, maybe worth doing. They're pretty good. Another good glove. Gloves of the Dread Watcher from Alkanite Crypts Heroic. 70 spell power equivalency on these. 29 damage, 18 hit rating. Good choice. Two more. Mana Spark gloves. This is from Underbog, not Heroic. Like just regular, the like level 63 dungeon Underbog. But they're for their level, they're quite good. 2 sockets, 15 hit rating, 16 spell damage. Almost 67 spell power equivalency, which is like the same as these, right? So if you get these from Underbog, I really wouldn't worry about any other gloves. Similar to that, if you have your classic Wild-BIS Darkstorm Gauntlets, I wouldn't really worry about replacing these as far as pre-BIS is concerned. I mean, if you get Mana Spark or something else, I mean, of course. But I mean, these are still really good. 37 damage and 8 hit rating. That's a 56 spell power equivalency, which is the exact same. It's 0.01 better than the quote-unquote BIS, which is what you see on BIS lists, Mana Edge gloves. So, yeah, you won't look silly at all wearing Darkstorm Gauntlets in Kara Gruul Mag. For the belt, we have the Sun Icon, BIS Alert, Girdle of Rumination. Not only pre-BIS, but also Phase 1 BIS. Very strong belt option. From Tailoring, good spell damage, a lot of crit rating, 2 sockets, 78 spell power equivalency from this. But until you make this, if you do feel like making this, until then, there's a few other good options. Glyphline Sash from Heroic Mana Tombs, if you feel like doing Heroic Mana Tombs. 30 spell damage, 9 crit rating, 2 sockets. It's a good bit worse than Girdle of Rumination, but until you get Girdle of Rumination, not a bad option. A little bit better than that, I would say, is Belt of Depravity. Assuming you can use the hit, it's a very good belt. No sockets on it, but 34 damage, 17 hit rating. According to spell power equivalency, it's almost as good as Girdle of Rumination from Heroic Xtracheese. So if you feel like doing Heroic Xtracheese, yeah, Belt of Depravity is quite good. Then finally, your classic BIS, Eyestock Wastecord. Not bad. 41 spell damage and 14 crit rating, but a good bit worse than like Girdle of Rumination, right? So I would be looking to hopefully attain Girdle of Rumination eventually, but Eyestock Wastecord is not terrible by any means. I'm moving forward to the legs. Another Sun Icon, another BIS. This is BIS Phase 1, Spell Strike Pants. Very strong. From Tailoring, it's BOE, so you don't even need to be a tailor. Very powerful. 3 sockets, 22 hit rating, 26 crit rating, 46 damage. Not even considering the 2 set. Like if you decide to go with like one of the helms that have a meta socket instead of Spell Strike Hood. And like even like in Kara, you're gonna be wearing like tier 4 helm, right? So not even considering the 2 set, it's just very, very strong pants. 141 spell power equivalency on these. Very strong. Definitely be looking to get these. But in the meanwhile, Breaches of the Oculus is pretty good from Heroic Black Morass, giving you 36 damage, 23 crit, and 3 sockets. Not bad at all. But I mean, you can see it's just quite a bit worse than Spell Strike Pants. So really, you should be working towards farming the mats for Spell Strike Pants. And then the classic option, Leggings of Polarity. Not way worse than Breach of the Oculus, but definitely way worse than Spellstrike Pants. So yeah, they're not awful by any means. 44 damage, 28 crit rating, but leg slot is not one of the things that the classic option is really comparable. Moving forward to the feet. Another BIS alert. We have the Yellow Sun. Frozen Shadowy Boots. Very strong boots. 57 damage, 2 sockets, giving you a 77 spell power equivalency. These are your phase 1 BIS as well. Until you make these, some other options, or if you're a Fire Warlock who wouldn't use these, we have Sigil Lace Boots from Xtracheese. These are pretty good, giving you 20 damage, 17 crit, 2 sockets. Strat Jumpers, this is from a quest. I think it's a dungeon quest. Not too bad, 29 damage, 2 sockets. These Extravagant Boots of Malice from Heroic Mana Tombs. If you feel like doing Heroic Mana Tombs, good bit of hit rating on these. That's why the spell power equivalency is quite high. It appears that these are better than Sigil Lace and etc. Jumpers. And if you can utilize a hit, they are. But these are good as well. And then your next option, Plague Heart Sandals. Not bad. 48 spell power equivalency. But worse than everything else that I listed. But yeah. If you're a Shadow Warlock, Frozen Shadowy Boots are one of your top priorities, because these will last you quite a while. Moving forward to the rings. A fair amount of good ring options. We have, first I'm going to talk about Sparkling Arcanite Ring. This is what you'll find on BIS lists. It's from Heroic, Old Hillsbrad Foothills. Good hit rating, crit rating, and decent spell damage. Very good ring. For Badges of Justice, we have Ring of Cryptic Dreams. Pretty good ring as well. 23 damage, 20 crit. And you don't have to farm it. It just bought from Badges of Justice. Another slept-on ring. I don't see it in many BIS lists, but it's quite good. Seal the Exorcist. It's from Spirit Shards. It gives you a 12 hit rating and 28 damage. Spirit Shards, you get these from the dungeons in, I think it's Terracar Forest. It's the zone that has like mana tombs and stuff like that. But you get it from those dungeons, provided you are the faction that currently controls the towers. Every few hours or whatever, the towers are gonna like become PvP zones, and whether Horde or Alliance, whatever faction controls all the towers, for a handful of hours, you can collect spirit shards from the dungeons. And I think it's 50 spirit shards or whatever for this. But yeah, Seal the Exorcist is quite good. And if you're a PvPer, you're looking to pick this up as well. It's a very good PvP ring. Moving forward, the last TBC ring I want to talk about is Ashen's Gift from Cenarian Expedition Exalted. You just buy it from the vendor. Quite powerful. The spell power equivalency shows that it's like the most powerful ring. But that's kind of because of the hit rating thing. Right, hit rating is worth so much spell power. But yeah, very good ring. 21 hit rating, 23 spell damage. If you're struggling with hit, this is a good option for getting a lot of hit. And then finally, the classic WoW options from AQ40 and Nax, respectively. We have Ring of the Fallen God and Band of the Inevitable. Rings from Classic. Ring is one of those slots where the Classic option is very, very comparable to the TBC rings. At 54 and 51 spell power equivalency, pretty much the same as like all these other rings. So if you have both these rings from Classic, I wouldn't worry about any other rings for PvE purposes. Like they're comparable to the rest of these for sure. The wand, every BIS list is going to say the Black Stalk from Heroic Underbog, and it's quite good. 20 spell damage, 11 crit, 29 spell power equivalency. But provided you can use the hit, there's some better options potentially. Another core is Control Rod from Xtracheese. This gives you a bit less damage, but instead of crit rating, it's giving you a hit rating and some int, which is nice. So this is a very good one as well from regular Xtracheese. And then I want to point out you can get an up Shadow Wrath ring up to 25, so that's another potentially good option. And then your next option, Wand of Fates, is actually very good as well. It's basically the same thing as Nether Core's Control Rod, but just a hair worse. It has 1 less spell damage, 12 instead of 13, and it has 3 less int and 2 less stam. But I mean, if you have Wand of Fates, I personally would not go through the hassle of trying to farm the Black Stalk. I would just wear Wand of Fates. Moving forward. 2 weapons. I'm going to go over main hands, then offhands, then staffs. So for all the BIS lists, it's going to say Stormcaller. This is from Thrallmar Exalted. 159 spell damage, 21 crit. Spell power equivalency of 180. Quite easy to attain. You just got to work on the rep, and then you just go buy it from the vendor. However, I do want to point out Gladiator's Spellblade. If you are an arena junkie, you can get this. 199 spell damage. Plus stamina and resil, right? But yeah, this is a 203 spell power equivalency. So stronger than the Stormcaller. But you have to be doing arena, and you have to be somewhat good at arena because it's locked, at least it was last time, locked under specific rating. I think 1850 rating, which you have to be somewhat competent to attain. So up to you. And also, as far as Pre-BIS is concerned, I don't think arenas unlock like the moment TBC launches, right? I think there's a couple weeks you gotta wait. But I wanted to point this out. Next, I want to talk about Blade of Wizardry. So this is interesting. It is the same spell power as Stormcaller 159. No crit rate or anything, or Stammerant, but it gives you this Equip Haste proc. So, difficult to calculate the spell power equivalency of this, for sure. It's more of an AoE thing, like for seeding. Because if you're seeding like 5 or 10 targets, it drastically increases the chance to get this proc. For single target, not as powerful. But for AoE, it's arguably BIS game through Sunwell. It's very strong for AoE. You just have a much better chance of getting this haste proc. But I will say, this is going to be expensive, I'm sure. It's rare, and it's BIS game for AoE, potentially. So I expect this to be thousands of gold. Probably 10,000 gold. Right? Like, expensive, I'm sure. But yeah, Blade of Wizardry is an option. And finally, the next option, Wraithblade, quite a bit worse than TBC weapons. 125 spell power equivalency. It's like 55 worse than Stormcaller, and you just buy this from a vendor. So, yeah, Stormcaller is the easy option as far as BIS and easy to attain. Offhands, we have the Sun BIS alert. Phase 1 BIS as well. Either Khadgar's Knapsack or Orb of the Soul Eater. You buy these from the badge vendor. 49 spell damage on this, and this one is 51 and some stam, but it's only shadow damage. But if you're a Shadow Warlock, that's really what you're casting anyways. So, personal preference. For PvP, Orb of the Soul Eater is more attractive because of the stamina. But, yeah, Khadgar's Knapsack is what you'll find on most BIS lists. But then I want to point out Saffron's Left Eye from Nax. I don't know why BIS lists aren't putting this, because it seems to be better provided you use the hit. 26 damage, 14 crit rating, and 8 hit rating. Some intellect, stamina. If you do the spell power equivalency, it's a bit better than these badge options. So if you have Saffron's Left Eye, I would save your badges. I would use that. And finally, the staffs. As a rule, you want main hand offhand. Just your pre-bis is main hand offhand. Your phase 1 bis is main hand offhand. Your phase 2 bis, like SSCTK, is also main hand offhand. So there are some good staffs, but as far as bis is concerned, you really want main hand offhand, and unless you have Atiesh, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But if you go the staff route, the only really notable staff in pre-bis is Tarek Shadow Staff at 211 spell power equivalency. And if you compare that to like Stormcaller plus Khadgar's Knapsack, that's like a 230 spell power equivalent if you add the 49 and the 180. So 20 spell power equivalency worse than your pre-bis setup for main hand offhand. But not bad from Heroic Shattered Halls. Let's talk about the Nax stuff. So Brimstone Staff, this is your bis from Nax that's not Atiesh. 164 spell power equivalency. Not too amazing. Like, this staff itself is worse than Stormcaller. And that's not even considering the fact that you can get an offhand with Stormcaller. So Brimstone Staff, it's a little bit lagging behind when compared to TBC stuff. But then let's talk about Atiesh. So for you as the staff wielder, it is 215 spell power equivalency. You get that from the int, the crit rating, the 150 spell power, plus the 33 that you get as well. So for yourself, it is 215, which is worse than pre-bis. Like, Stormcaller at 180 plus Khadgar's Knapsack at 49 equals 230. So Atiesh is worse than pre-bis for yourself. However, if you take into account the 33 spell damage that the other 4 people in your party are getting from you, assuming that you're in a caster group, which you probably will be, that brings its value up to 347 spell power equivalency, which is quite a bit better than pre-bis, being Stormcaller, Khadgar's Knapsack, right? So, yeah, if you have Atiesh, you wear Atiesh. It is, for you personally, it's not even pre-bis, but for the raid, I just did a video kind of talking about this, but you wear this until you kill Illidan, until you get Zardum. But yeah, Atiesh. Then last but not least, Trinkets. I did not go through the effort of trying to do spell power equivalency on Trinkets because other than Nels Tier and Mark of the Champion, it's kind of impossible because the rest have like on uses or like equip effects that proc. So it's kind of impossible to do spell power equivalencies, but I'm going to talk about them. So every bis list is going to say Quag's Eye plus Icon of the Silver Crescent. And I would say they're accurate. Quag's Eye, first let's talk about that. This is amazing. From Rogue Slave Pens, this is the thing that you're going to be farming. 37 damage and the not on use, but proc of 320 haste. Very, very, very powerful. This is not just pre-bis, it's not just phase 1 bis, but it's also phase 2 bis, and arguably phase 3 bis as well. This is very, very strong. This is what you want. And as far as your second trinket is concerned, Icon of the Silver Crescent, pretty easy to attain. It's just Badges of Justice, and it's quite powerful. 43 spell damage passive, and the on-use 20 seconds, 155. Other options, you have Arcanist Stone from Heroic Old Hillsbred Foothills. Actually, a better on-use than Icon. 167 for 20 seconds instead of 155. And arguably, 25 hit rating could be more useful to you than 43 spell damage. So, potentially using Arcanist Stone over Icon in certain setups. Same can be said for Scar's Blood Gem. Even more hit rating than Arcanist Stone, but the on use is a bit weaker at 150 spell damage, which is 5 weaker than Icon. Plus, it's only 15 seconds instead of 20 seconds. So a little bit weaker, but this is a good option as well. And finally, let's talk about the stuff from Classic. 3 things worth potentially using. The weakest, for sure, is Nels Tier. No on use, which is kind of the downside of it. But passively, 44 spell damage, 16 hit rating is pretty nice. Then we have Restrained Essence of Saffron. Basically, just the diet version of Icon of Silver Crescent. It's the same thing, but just a hair worse. It gives you 3 less spell damage, passively. And the on use is 25 spell damage worse. So, you do eventually want to get Icon from your badges, but until you get that, Restrained Essence is still a very good trinket. Then finally, Mark of the Champion. This is from KT. And depending on your kill times, and if you're fighting Undead or Demon, which a lot of raid bosses in TBC are, depending on your kill time and whatnot and stuff, this is BIS for mini phases, potentially. It just gives you a passive 85 spell damage, which is like almost double the passive spell damage of Icon of the Silver Crescent. But no on use. But just that passive 85 is quite powerful. And for longer fights, this is going to be more powerful than Icon. Like for a very short fight where that 20 seconds of on use has very good uptime, Icon's going to be better, right? But for fight lengths that are like long enough to where you like don't have very good uptime on this and you can't like use it twice, right? Like Mark of the Champion is going to be better. So it really just depends on your fight length. You have to kind of look at that yourself. But Mark of the Champion, very good option as well. All right. So now we've gone over every item. So now let's talk about the BIS list. So this is, if you Google, like I said before, if you Google a BIS list for Pre-BIS Destro Warlock, you're going to come up with a list that looks exactly like this or very similar to this. I manually put in all the items that I saw on the BIS list, and I did that to account for the gems. Like I made sure I gemmed properly, the correct amount of hit gems and whatnot. So my hit rating is 202 is the cap, and this is at 200, so pretty much right on where I would need to be. Yeah, we have a Mana Etched Crown with the meta socket. I made sure to include 2 blue gems to activate it, and then basically, yeah, this is what you'll find if you Google like a Destro Warlock Pre-BIS. I simmed appropriately for what I expect to have for my situation. So this is for a Horde Warlock who does have an Elemental Shaman in their group. So 3% of this hit that we're getting is from Totem of Wrath. So if you do not have an Elemental Shaman, you have to swap some gear around to get more hits. But on the contrary, if you are an Alliance and you have a Draenei and an Ellie Shaman, well, you have a Draenei Ellie Shaman in your group, you're going to gem or gear slightly differently to account for the fact that Alliance Warlocks will be getting 1% more hit than Horde Warlocks. But yeah, this is the BIS setup according to many sources. And yeah, if you just want to go for this, go for it. But I simmed for a 2-minute fight. The default is 3 minutes, but I just made it 2 because we kill things so fast in WoW nowadays. And I made sure to give myself appropriate raid buffs and boss debuffs and whatnot. And yeah, simming at 2054. But now that I've gone over what most people would collectively say is like a BIS list, I'm going to go over my plans and taking several things into account. The few things I want to take into account is, 1, I don't want to have to farm a specific heroic endlessly for a specific item, other than Quag's Eye, because you kind of can't get around that. And then 2, Gold concerns. I don't necessarily want to spend a bazillion gold on my Pre-BIS. And then 3, actually kind of just those 2, gold and ease of access. Yeah. So this is my plan for Pre-BIS. Subject to change. But you'll notice that actually it sims better than the list you'll find online. So maybe I know something that everybody else doesn't. I'm just secretly super smart or something. I don't know. But my plan is simming better than the Pre-BIS. So yeah, 2079 DPS simmed for this setup right here. And you notice I was able to get exactly 202 hit rating, exactly 16% hit, which is kind of cool. But yeah, now I'm going to talk about why I chose each item in this list. So, Spell Strike Hood. I chose this because it's a few hundred gold. I don't have to worry about a meta gem, and it will be easy to replace in tier 4. In that, like if I went with the Mana Etch 2 set that like they recommend, like the crown and the gloves, like if I get tier 4 helm, then I have to worry about, oh, now my gloves, my Mana Etch gloves suck. Or I have to swap to Mana Etch shoulders or something like that. So just to avoid that nonsense in Karazhan, it's going to go with Spell Strike Hood. Then as soon as I get tier 4 helm, I just take Spell Strike Hood off. I'll lose that 2 set, but is what it is. Because you still wear Spell Strike pants anyways. But yeah, that's my choice for helm. When I say a few hundred gold, I don't know the exact how much it's going to cost, the materials for this. But I plan to craft it myself, pretty much. Like, I have a few tailoring alts. I plan to kind of just do the cloth myself and maybe buy a couple cloth if I get impatient. But shouldn't be too hard to get the cloth and farm the primals and whatnot. So, Spell Strike Hood. Eye of the Night. Caveat, this is for, like, this is that neck that has the on-use spell damage thing that lasts 30 minutes with an hour cooldown. So you do want to have another neck in your back pocket. But this is what I have in my setup, Eye of the Night. It's just from jewel crafting. The mats aren't too terribly expensive. I'll just use my AQ40 neck or whatever when it's on cooldown. Frozen Shadow Weave Shoulders. Can be a few hundred gold. I plan to kind of just craft it myself. It shouldn't be too hard to get. Cloak of the Necropolis. This is from Classic. Don't have to worry about anything. Robe of the Crimson Order. Depending on how expensive this is. If it turns out this is more expensive than the mats to make Frozen Shadow Weave, I'll just make Frozen Shadow Weave. And then I'll have to find hit somewhere else, gem differently or whatever. But, yeah. Whatever's cheaper, Robe of the Crimson Order or Frozen Shadow Weave. Doesn't really matter because in Karazhan, you're going to be getting a tier 4 chest anyways. Not a big deal. Braces of Havoc. These will last through Kara. They're a little bit pricey. But honestly, I would be just as satisfied with the epic PvP ones, the ones that you get from Honor. They're really, honestly, just as good. So, would you rather spend some gold or farm some battlegrounds? Up to you. Atiesh from Classic. I don't have to worry about a weapon. That's pretty nice. My gloves. I'm satisfied with Darkstorm Gauntlets. They're good enough for me, for Pre-BIS. So don't have to worry about gloves. The belt. This is the expensive one. This is going to be pricey, but it's going to last all the way through Kara and into SSC TK. So if you're going to spend a fair amount of gold on something, I'd say Girdle of Rumination is a good option. Spell Strike Pants. A few hundred gold. I don't know exactly how many. What are we talking? 200? 500? I don't know. But I plan to just craft it myself, pretty much. Farm the primals. Yeah. And then Frozen Shadowy Boots. Same story. It's going to last all the way through Kara. You have to craft it. The mats are kind of expensive, but nothing that you shouldn't be able to handle. If you're just patient, you can do it yourself. You don't have to spend any gold if you're patient. But yeah, Frozen Shadowy Boots. Both my rings, I'm satisfied with these. I don't feel the need to try to farm other rings for a Pre-BIS. So, yeah, Ring of the Fallen God, Bandit Inevitable. Quag's Eye. Now this is the thing I'm going to have to farm, unfortunately. Heroic Slave Pens. My advice, you better find a tank and hard reserve this. Either find a buddy in your guild to help you out, or try to buy a tank, or whatever. But if you go in trade chat and you're like, looking for 4 more Heroic Slave Pens, need tank, healer, 2 DPS. One, finding a tank and healer is going to be annoying, as it always is for anything. And then 2, the DPS who are going to whisper you is going to be 2 other damn warlocks, and they're going to want Quag's Eye. So save yourself some stress, find a buddy, or pay for a tank, or just invite rogues or whatever, and like even prop pallies might want this. So like find a warrior tank and yeah. My advice is to not go into Rogue Slave Pens having to roll against another Warlock or Mage or whatever on this. Either hard reserve it or make sure there's nobody else who wants it in the group. Trinkets, the other one, Icon. Badges, easy to get. And Wand of Fates, I already got it. Classic. So, yeah. The reason I chose these items is because literally the only thing that I have to farm is Quag's Eye. Literally everything else is either from Classic or tailoring. And you can just craft it yourself or buy it. And yeah, simple as that. Well, this neck is not tailoring, it's jewel crafting, but same idea, right? And neither is this chest, this is BOE, but like I said, you can just go with Frozen Shadow Eve if you find Robe with the Crimson Order is expensive. Or go with that other chest I talked about, which is from like a quest. And it's pretty much just as good. But yeah, this is my plans. And for some reason, maybe I'm just Giga Brain, it's simming better than the list you'll find online. But yeah, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for staying to the end if you did. I talked about Pre-BIS for quite a while. I don't know exactly how long this video is, but probably pretty long. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Before I sign off, I do want to say that personally, I would not stress about a lot of Pre-BIS gear. Because like I said, Kara's a 10-man. It's easy. There's probably only a couple other casters in there. You should be able to get all your tier 4 and all that quite easily. But yeah, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.